the inner courtyard of the castle, and then here were the dungeons for female captives. Where we are standing was the largest one, for over 150, and that was depending on the number of captives in the castle. These captives were not from Ghana alone, some were brought from the West African countries, and they were expected to walk down to this place. So in the dungeons here, empty receptacles were placed at the corners of all the dungeons, and that was where they were forced to ease themselves. But because of the far distance, most of them were weak in the dungeons, so they couldn't walk to the corners. They were in shackles or chains as well, so due to language barrier, they couldn't communicate to each other. And they were doing everything on the floor here, sleeping in it, eating in it at the same time. Where we are standing now, we have the original floor where the captives were forced to sleep on. The rest of the dungeons have been renovated. Please, when you take the dungeons, for instance, empty spaces, they were all closed with doors. So source of ventilation came from where you can see the pillars here. And at first, they were in metals, but because of the sea, we've changed them with wood. The small hole there leads to another room called magazine, the one that we saw the main door there, where ammunitions were kept, talking of guns, gunpowder, chemicals, etc. So whenever there were leakages, it came straight here, and many of the female captives here died. Here when they died, they were thrown into the sea, and that was the end as well. Captives were expected to be in the dungeons for about 2 to 3 months. That was due to the arrival of the ships. But whilst they were around there, they never had the chance to wash down. These captives had the last chance to wash down when they were bringing them. And they were forced to stop at a place called Asen Manso in Ghana. That's about 50 kilometers away from here. There they were made to wash down in the river before they were brought into the dungeons. So that was the condition for the captives whilst they were in the dungeons.
We would like to do a program.
You're welcome.
So could everyone come in? We come close, take out our candles. Who's good at this? Opening this layer. And then we'll light each other's.
Here, to out the light.
And pass the light on to the others.
Okay. 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 I'll wait. Okay. I don't want you to burn your finger. Straight up, so you don't burn your finger.
Step up to the lighter.
Just wait for one another.
I was trying to.
I was just letting her.
Here.
Use the light.
Straight like this.
Everyone have a light. Let's make a circle. Maybe we can make a circle. We know that there's power in a circle. No. Where's our brother? Did you say this is the original floor?
We have the original floor here.
So,
And I have the water.
you have the water. So since our sister Sass isn't here, I'd just like to.
Is it okay if I pour water on the floor? No, it's okay, okay.
So,
Do it right back here or right in front of you?
can we start? Our sister Charlotte said something very powerful in the other slave fort, and I'd like to ask her to share that with everyone now, before we actually pour libation.
We were discussing while we were all here, we all know that we came to pay homage to our ancestors. Well, what does that really mean? And you think about, yes, we're paying homage to what we know as the freedom fighters now because they were strong and they were the ones that fought. But we're also paying respect to the weak ones to let them know that their death is not in vain. We're also paying homage to the ones that made it to America and the other plantations, and they worked until death because they worked. And when they were hoping for a better future for their children, it wasn't just necessarily the children that they were birthing. It was the next generation, it was for us. So we're back to let them know that their death was not in vain, their blood and sweat was not in vain, and we will not forget.
And victory.
Ashe. Powerful. So victory. Think of victory. I think Sister Inoko said today that we cannot possibly cry enough tears, right? So let us acknowledge the victory because we're here today. So when we call libation, we hold it up first to deity and then
To the east, west.
Okay, you can if you like. Let's do this together. So let's say, we give thanks.
We give thanks
To the source of life.
to the source of life.
We know that we have different names for the Creator, but as African people, we know there's only one. And after we say that, we give thanks to whatever it is. Let's say together, Ibaye Ashe, Ibaye Ashe. So let's do it again. We give thanks to the source of life. Ibaye Ashe, Ibaye Ashe. Again, we give thanks to Africa, to Africa. Ibaye Ashe, Ibaye
Ashe.
We give thanks to our ancestors. Ibaye Ashe, Ibaye Ashe. We give thanks to our parents and our teachers. Ibaye Ashe, Ibaye Ashe. We give thanks to the children born and yet unborn. Ibaye Ashe, Ibaye Ashe. We give thanks. I'd like to call out different names.
Marcus Garvey.
Everybody.
My parents, my grandparents, my children,
My father.
my sister, all of our family, everyone in the whole wide world who has passed and been passed unwarrantedly.
To those known and those who will never know. Ibaye Ashe, Ibaye Ashe. Let's have a moment of silence.